Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast. My name is Desi, and I am very glad to say we have a full house tonight. Joining us, the pilot of the Tarrier Carrier from down Stokeway, Ralph Malf. Good evening, Ralph.
Hello.
The Reverend Ralph I'm Jolly, we should call you now, but we'll come to reasons for that soon enough. The man from across the water, Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty.
Evening, lads.
Currently, the C stands for cannot see, because Monty's video is not on for us on the call. I know this is an audio podcast, but normally we can see Monty in sunnier climes, but not tonight. We've just got his audio. Thank you, Monty. And last but not least, Hector Bandido, our man in the suburbs. Good evening, Hector.
Evening, guys. Monty, can I just say that's the best you've looked in ages?
Well, that phrase could apply to quite a lot over the last 9 days or so. Right, so apologies, folks. You may be wondering, where the hell have we been in the last, say, week or so, given what has happened in the glorious world of Celtic Football Club? But there is a perfectly logical reason for that, and it is all down to Monty C. Burns. So, Monty, I was wondering why we hadn't got together, but I just discovered today, Monty, the official period of mourning in Roman times was 9 days. So I can see that you have been following the official mourning period for losing Brendan Rodgers. So apparently the tradition of a 9-day mourning period symbolises the completion of an earthly life and the soul's journey towards eternal peace. So a week ago on Monday there, Monty, always pretty in your garden of the Brendan Rodgers Appreciation Society, and by 10:30 p.m. the garden was looking like a disaster zone. Were you shocked, Monty?
Yes, and then I remember the last podcast we had where we kind of humoured the point at the end, which was, would you sack him? And I think whenever the real sort of what went on comes out, I mean, it's quite clear that he called the meeting. It's quite clear that the meeting went south rapidly. I have a suspicion, knowing how football works and how they all talk in back channels, I have a funny feeling he got wind that they were going to pop him, and he beat them to the punch. Because all of the chaos that ensued, Desi, was just soap opera, amateur stuff. Like a minority shareholder using a PLC vehicle to issue a vitriolic personal attack. That's fucking madness. But yes, Desi, shocked. 9 days of mourning. He'll be the last elite manager we'll have, without a doubt. And, you know, as somebody else pointed out to me, a good friend of mine, Jimmy McElroy from Belfast, said he's a fucking rat. And I pointed out, well, he's an 11 out of 13 trophy-winning fucking rat. So that was the end of that.
I swear to God,
Is that the end of your friendship, is it?
You've just literally covered the full agenda in a couple of sentences there, Monty. I did put a poll tonight, because again, when you think about it, it's quite strange. I think we now have at least 4 managers who have returned to be manager at least. So Big Billy, we've had Martin O'Neill will come to, Brendan Rodgers, Neil Lennon. I did ask fans, it may have been a bit of a weighted question given the scenarios, whose managerial return at Celtic would you look upon most favourably? Looking back, and so far it seems to be a run between Martin
Lou McCarry.
Big Bill. Neil Lennon's polling at 2%, so that's not looking too good for you. Not looking too good for you, Neil. Ralph, as is customary, we do not want to. We are always one sticklers for tradition, Ralph. We must start our conversation with the traditional. Ralph, knock knock.
Who's there?
Brendan Rodgers.
Who?
Well, exactly. That's football for you, right? So Monty touched on this. just a minute ago regards the non-executive chairman issuing a statement. So everyone, we're not going to go, well, we can go into details if you like, but everyone knows what's happened, right? Rogers resigned, and I'm making air quotes here. Rogers resigned, and we thought that was it. There was a statement came out by Chris Mackay, the finance officer, the official club statement, and everybody thought that was it, telling us that Martin O'Neill, surprise, surprise, was returning with Sean Maloney to take over on an interim basis, Ralph. And then came Dermot Desmond's rant, Ralph. So, what was I going to say?
Rant is the right word.
Right, sorry. So I almost forgot my train of thought there. So Dermot Desmond rant, you can go into that if you like. But my point to you was, Ralph, I then wrote a piece for etims.net, and on it, I highlighted the fact that, judging by social media, Twitter especially, it seemed to be, to me, Ralph, let's see what your thoughts are. People seem to be more upset with the tone and Dermot Desmond being the person who released that statement than they actually were Brendan Rodgers no longer being the Celtic manager. Any thoughts?
Or even with the content of it. For somebody to come out with a rant like that, and for nobody to pull him back and say, just give it 10 minutes, let's do a rewrite, means that something serious happened. Something crossed the line, somebody crossed the line somewhere, and Desmond's not known. I think was it the last time at Hampden when a number of Rangers directors were singing and taking the mick, to coin a phrase, and he reacted quite strongly. This seems to me like he'd literally just come out of a meeting, told somebody to take a letter and let fly, and then instead of holding it back for a wee bit and then rewriting it, he just let loose. Something seriously has upset him. Whether or not he's the minority shareholder, in reality, he's the guy that runs the club. And whatever his pal's done, he's let him down.
But to that point, do you think people were more concerned with the statement than they were the fact that Rodgers was no longer the manager? Because that was the impression I was getting. No one seemed to be coming and going, I can't believe we don't have Rodgers anymore.
I think it kind of fed the narrative that the board aren't doing their job and Desmond only turns up when he feels like it. And because of that, it's again kind of put the blame on the board for whatever's went wrong. When realistically, there's much, much more than that went wrong. And yet, if we'd get a result tonight, we wouldn't be feeling like this. We'd have been backing him up to the hilt. We'd have said, yeah, he's made a change. It needed to be changed.
Well, we wouldn't have been backing him to the hilt. You went back to the hilt.
We'll come. Sorry, Hector. Sorry. Yeah, we'll come to the night, but let's just take a wee couple of days back a wee bit, because it is interesting. That's a very good point, Ralph. But it is interesting. The wee slight roller coaster that we're kind of on at the moment. It was looking lovely, and then suddenly reality has hit the buffers tonight, let's say. But we'll come to that in a second, right? So I'm going to come to you, Hector, with another big item. The brand new superstore has opened in Queen Street, Glasgow. Hector, how are you feeling?
Yes, I think it's great. It's like a new signing, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, it's like getting a new right winger and centre forward all in one go for Christmas, really, isn't it?
Right. So clearly, and again, happy birthday, Celtic. It was Celtic's birthday today, 138 years old. And again, one classic trivia question. When was Celtic formed? 1887, no 1888. That was the first game. So Hector,
yes.
You and Monty, I think it's fair to say, you were Brendan's bigger fans of Brendan. He's appreciated Brendan a bit more than Ralph and I did. So what were your thoughts last Monday, Hector? Did you think it was coming?
Well, no, because I thought the podcast, which we did on the Sunday, it feels like months ago, doesn't it, because of events, but when we were podding Sunday, we'd spoke about something has to change, right? And we thought the drastic act was him going, which none of us thought would happen so soon, maybe a few weeks later, but not so soon. Well, Roma's just scored 1-0 to Roma. Good stuff.
Roma scored?
Just scored, aye. But just on that, but we spoke about it needs to reset. as in the board, the manager, because you can't have a club where the manager and the board are at odds and the support on the board are at odds. It's dysfunctional. It's never successful. So I think we all understood and appreciated that. But back to Monty's point, Rogers called the meeting. So just there's a wee bit being released for a couple of the hacks that are fairly close to it. So Rogers did call the meeting to say, look, we need to get this together and work in unity for the rest of the season, or I've got to go. I'm not the man to stay here. And by all accounts, it was mainly with Mackay and the Invisible Man. Who's our chief executive again? What's his name?
I don't know, mate. I didn't think we had one. Have we got one?
Dermot Nicholson or something. Terry Casty. And that was the words. But what happened then? And this is the bit that I think you mentioned Desmond coming in. It became chaotic to the point where it became a slagging match in the meeting itself, where John Kennedy was there alongside Brendan Rodgers, and it became a shouting, swearing match with Rodgers getting stuck in to Nicholson and Mackay, by all accounts. Lots of F words, lots of expletives. Apparently it went mental. So I think your point about Desmond just throwing that in so quickly and so irate, it all adds up as to what happened. So he's obviously went, well, back me or sack me, I'll accept your back me where I'm going, I'll accept your resignation. What I also think's happened is if he's resigned, he's not signed an NDA. So he's picking his moment. And he's we all know he's many things, but one thing, he's not stupid. I think he's just waited till the dust settles down. For us, that would be after the Kilmarnock game on Sunday. So a 2-week break for internationals. And I think we'll see during that quiet period, he might come back with some sort of rebuttal or whatever. But that's by the by, right? Something had to give, right? And I think him going, it's not the worst thing because something had to give. Yeah. It's not the board. They're no giving. Where are they going? Are they going anywhere? Right?
Well, he called it.
That's
He
what
called
said,
it himself,
wasn't
Hector. He said it himself when he was asked at the start. Sack the board often means sack the manager. And when you look at a lot of the things that he said, you could make a case that he was, the briefing that was against him, that he was trying to angle his way out. But actually, he was just calling it. It was quite clear that, as you say, the entire relationship was broken. And people don't look. People, the old cliche: you don't leave your job, you leave your boss. I asked the question, and no one's seemed to have been able to answer it. I asked it in the collective group, and I asked it, I think, in ours. Who did Rogers report to? Who was his boss? Because everybody's got a boss, right?
there was meant to be a football board, wasn't there, allegedly?
Yeah. So who was Rogers' boss? Because the way that Desmond's statement read, and I know we don't want to dwell on it, but it was very important. He laid out a few things that were clearly wrong, but he also laid out this comment about the structure, and he went into detail. He said where the CEO runs the operations and the football manager runs the football operations. Okay. So who do those two report to? So who would Rogers fill in his fucking holiday form for in a normal business? Did Rogers report to Nicholson? That's my question. Did the football manager report to the CEO? Because dysfunction in organisations often comes from a completely misaligned org chart. And you've been banging this drum, Hector, for years. There needs to be a football director. Give them the budget, leave them the fuck alone, and you look after. CEO looks after everything else, and let this guy report into the board.
Like most modern European clubs do, right?
Yeah, but Rogers didn't report to the board. Rogers was not the CEO. So my gut, without knowing it, I think somehow Rogers had to report to Nicholson, that Nicholson was superior to Rogers in terms of decision making. And I think fundamentally, if the truth can come out, if I'm right on it, that's the fundamental breakdown in the relationship.
Desi, can I just say something, right? So in terms of the Desmond statement coming out so soon after, and like most fights or arguments, the truth tends to lie somewhere in the middle, doesn't it? You probably find that some of what Desmond's put out undoubtedly will be true. Roger's been a bit of a drama queen, playing to the galleries, his ego. We've all discussed that before, right? But there was a couple of things within Dermot's statement where he lost what little credibility he had with many Celtic supporters. Two things in particular.
Yeah.
One was he pretty much said the board have been faultless and done nothing wrong, right? As in Nicholson and Mackay have been faultless. The executive have been faultless. The non-execs have been faultless. Pretty much he was saying that. And then I think it was the penultimate paragraph, when he said the immortal lines that come from the Celtic board, every penny that comes into the club goes out the club, as we sit with a cash pile of £77 million
77 million.
in the
Yeah.
bank. And it actually, that was the thing when we talk about the Celtic collective and the anger of so many supporters. But that and the fact a non-exec put a statement on the club website reinforced so many of the frustrations, annoyance of so many supporters. He actually demonstrated behaviours which brought it all home to go, look, we've not been making this up. This is the behaviour of him. He's running the club like his own fucking personal fiefdom here with 34% of the shares. So that's the whole fucking mix-up here, right? It's a clusterfuck, right?
Right. So I'm just looking back on various chats that we've had in the last week or so. So I said to you, just read Dermot's statement. You have to accept all of this is true. Only one person can disprove it, and time will now tell if a constructive dismissal claim goes in. But I have to say they have taken first swing and haven't missed Brendan's chin. So it will be interesting, to see, will Brendan take his million or so hush money? Because there will be a lawyer
He's resigned, Desi.
That's why.
Well, wait a minute. You can only go with what the Celtic board say. You can't have it both ways.
Well,
you say the Desmond statement, but also Celtic Chris McCart, they said that the manager had resigned.
Okay. That's yes, right. So that's another thing that will be clarified maybe at the AGM. Did he resign and walk away with no money, i.e. £2 million in pending wages for the rest of the season? Or was again, this is what I'm talking about the regards. Will he come back? Will he come back? You're talking about an NDA. Will he come back and then say, or will there be a lawyer discussion going on somewhere to say, we'll take 10%, you take 10%, but let's just sweep this away. Let's all move on, regardless with £1 million in your bank account by next Friday.
Seemingly, he's already been in touch with the League Managers Association. So that's your starting position for a grievance. But he doesn't need the money, and a couple of million for Desmond is loose change, so he can afford it.
But
so
it's not coming from
whenever
Desmond, is it? It's not nothing. Again, let's go back to what Jeanette Finlay always said. All the money always comes for the fans. All the money at that club came for the fans. Dermot's not reaching into his pocket to help.
But there's two really sleeked pieces to what Desmond did. Desmond issued that statement through the club. So Rodgers' grievance is with the club. So for all of Rodgers' protestations about loving Celtic, and I'm a Celtic man through and through, and I'd never do anything, Rodgers now has to sue Celtic. So that's why I don't think you're going to see him take a case. What'll happen is in the background, there'll be a conversation to say, Dermot, that's kind of a bit defamatory, and we could do like a one-to-one. But in reality, that's not going to happen either. There'll be some meeting of the minds off the record here, and that'll be the end of it. Yeah. But Rodgers, if I'm Rodgers, the damage that's doing to my credibility does need a rebuttal. But how he does it, it's kind of, it's a chess move from Desmond.
That's a very good point, right? So I'll come to Ralph, because I think there is damage being done to Rodgers, but I think it's more the actual poor form and performances of the team rather than that statement, because I think you have politics at all clubs, and because I put that in that piece also. They don't just look at the trophies they won and think he could maybe do it for us. But Ralph, from your perspective in the Neil Lennon Celtic Supporters Club and that, have you spoke to anybody who actually is upset that Rodgers is no longer the manager? I think this is a really big thing that no one seems to have went, that's a shame, I wish he was still a lot of times we've all experienced it. Somebody gets sacked and we go, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. Have you spoke to anybody yet that said that?
I don't think there's anybody come out in his defence. I don't think anybody said we should have given him time, we should have supported him. That's probably just down to the product on the pitch. It's not been great to watch. It's not been fun. To go back to your point there about Rodgers being damaged by all this as a professional manager, I don't think he has, because if it does come out that he's stood up for himself and that he's quit over a principle, then that actually makes him a better manager than maybe we thought so. Not maybe necessarily a tactician, somebody that can pick players, but if he stood his ground, that's, if he's got principles, that's something to be proud of.
I would agree with that to a point, Ralph. It's the personal element to it that Desmond clearly threw in and didn't give a fuck. Toxic, divisive, out for himself, self-serving. No one has ever suggested that Brendan had anything other than a massive ego, but he's also got a track record of success. And I think what's happened since the sort of puff pieces, the character assassinations in the friendly, what I would say the board friendly press that have happened since are very, very clearly, they're the work of the dirty politics of the club, I think. There was another one done by a guy called Kenny Archer in the Irish News, talking about how he did the same thing at Liverpool, that he couldn't pick a player. He was fucking useless when it came to man management of big players. And he just wanted it all his own way and refused to work with the players that he was given at Liverpool, which I think is pure revisionism. But I think you're right, Ralph. Stand your ground on a point of principle. If he'd have stood his ground on the point of principle, if he'd have walked at the end of the transfer window, I think he would have won. He would have won the entire, the war was his. Because that was the point. That was the critical mass point. Why he stayed after they fucked him over, I have no idea.
It does come back to your point about who does he answer to. Nicholson doesn't come across as a kind of strong character. And maybe Rodgers felt that with a little bit of pressure, with a little bit of even constructed argument, that he would win his point, that he would get what he wanted out of him. But if you look at that letter again, it talks about threats to people's families and the toxicity that he referred to. Toxicity can be a funny thing. Sometimes it can just be the strength of the individual that comes across as divisive, whereas he's just standing by what he feels. And we've all been in that situation in a kind of employment situation.
Yeah. And I know that Desi's going to try to come in with a point, but he doesn't realize he's on mute, which is actually a beautiful thing. So we could just chat away here.
You're fucking late. I actually just gave 2 minutes on how much I appreciate Brendan Rodgers returning the list of more the best. So that chance is gone. So, what I was going to say is, Hector, what do you think? Do you think Brendan has a legacy? His second spell has a legacy? Do you think anybody will actually remember the second spell?
Father of fickle, Desi, right? So see if we fast forward a few years and somebody says, Brendan Rodgers 2 times at Celtic. See, he's 2 years he's just done. He's won 2 league titles and he got us to the knockout stage of the Champions League. I would say that is a success.
Right, but bear with me. I was actually thinking of this today in my mind. It's kind of like the Ronnie Deila years. It was there, but you don't think about it at all, if you know what I mean. It's no like in your mind for any reason other than historically it happened and we all moved on. Well, that was sort of like...
Well, that's maybe your opinion. I think Ronnie Deila was dreadful because Hibs, Hearts and Rangers were all in the Championship in his first season, right? And he get beat by fucking second division Rangers and outplayed in the semi-final. So he was nothing like Rodgers or even Lennon, I would say.
It's the memory of his time at the club. That's what I mean. I'm not equating man to man.
I think the first time he was here, obviously because he went overnight to Leicester, but in terms of his first season, the unbeaten Invincibles, that's memorable, right? So that stands out. The first Celtic team I think ever won the treble by Invincible. That's unique. So that will stand out forevermore. Second spell, no, because we were all a bit of a haze when it was announced he was coming back. We never thought we'd ever have him, especially with Ange. We thought Ange was committing a bit longer, and then he was playing in the background to get away for months before the end of the season.
Some of us did know that Ange was going to be there, let's be honest. But
that's the thing, Ange was actually there for less than Rodgers in his 2 spells. It's mental. That's what I'm saying. So I also think,
don't
Desi,
upset Monty anymore.
but Desi, I'd also say this as well, right? Celtic Mars, it's a bit like players as well. And it doesn't matter if you're a young Celtic fan, a young football fan, let's say you're 16, 21, or older football fans, whether we like to admit it or not, we've all got our bias, we've all got our favourites, right? You know what I mean? And even you watch a game of football, it's like, you know, there's a guy you might like more than others and he's having a shite time, you'll defend them more, right?
Yeah. I think it's
Conversely,
called
there's somebody.
Hatati. I think you pronounce it Hatati for me.
Right. For you, it's probably Rio, right? And that's fine because it happens to all of us. I think managers will probably have the same, you know, with us as well. And that's, you know, that's being a football fan, isn't it? That's just life, isn't it?
Right, because I'll bring that to Monty, because I've just realised, Monty, you're no on video, because I suspect you've actually got one of the black veils over your face. You're actually still in Mourning, and you're just sitting rocking back and forth in a corner.
Tears tripping me.
So, Monty, what's your thoughts? We'll leave the last words on Brendan to you before we move on. What's your thoughts on Brendan's legacy, time at the club? How will people look back on Brendan this time? No, the first period. That's been and gone. This time right now, the last time.
I think Ralph's point on him standing his ground will be, or leaving on a point of principle will be part of how he's remembered. As Hector said, he won us another 4 trophies. I think it'll be remembered positively, Desi, but until the stench of that fucking dirty linen that Desmond threw out in the public goes away, I think it'll still be questioned. But there's a bigger picture here. Once we hear his side of the story, if indeed we ever do, I think his legacy's intact. I think the way that he handled himself, notwithstanding Ralph's point that the football had been poor for a while, I think the way that he managed the scenario, called them out, and put the pressure on them to ultimately, effectively get popped. I think that'll be how he's remembered. He stood up to the fuckers, but he was never going to win. But hey, I'm sure he's a few million to be sitting looking at that'll keep him sweet anyway. You know, seeing boy will not be lacking.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Brendan goes next. Like we talked before when he came back about the big house in Bearsden, Murdoch Park or whatever. And again, I was talking to somebody the other day, and you're kind of thinking he might be an ideal contender for the Scotland job next summer. Steve Clarke finishes up. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I still think
just don't
Hollywood, the Wrexham
when
thing.
we're looking for a manager.
I still think Brendan, the Gucci belt, the Tom Ford shoes, and Wrexham, the Hollywood thing. I think that's got that would just be a perfect tie-up. You know what I mean? That sort of idea, bringing them up for the championship. He might take another couple of years.
But Desi, can I now say to you? Can I now come in and say to you, who gives a fuck? Next.
Well, exactly right. So I think that actually sums it up, Hector. Right? I think that's a.
We've moved on.
So we come to last Monday. I was through in Edinburgh. I had no idea what had happened. I get back late, midnight, and looked at my phone, and suddenly, 11 o'clock, I heard it on the news, and even my wife went, "Oh, when you heard Brendan Rodgers had resigned." I get in and we starts. The WhatsApp channel had been full with all the news, etc., etc. And there had been a few comments, and I had commented, the board have played a blinder there. Right, we'll start with Ralph. The board have played a blinder there. Blessed Martin. No one will complain on Wednesday when Martin walks out to help wee Sean. So Ralph, as a marketing guru, do you think it was a master stroke with Dermot to phone Martin O'Neill on Monday night?
It's turned out to be a master stroke, but I'm not entirely sure that was the idea behind it. I think he's had his tantrum, I think he's had his mood, and then he sat down and thought, oh, shite, what do I do now? And he's maybe rang Martin up, probably the only phone number that he's got that he can get a hold of quickly. He's asked him the question. If you listen to O'Neill talk, and he says, I'll get 10 minutes to make my mind up, which means he's put pressure on him. And O'Neill said yes. And let's be honest, anybody else would have got the bad press, would have got a pressure from the media. But O'Neill handles the media fantastically, and he's taken away all the attention from Sean Maloney and from the players. And he's done it very well.
Yep.
I'm not
Very
entirely
well.
sure he planned it, though.
Well, very good question. So, Hector, you were at the game, the Falkirk game.
Yes.
So the Falkirk game came the Wednesday. I was unavailable. So you were at the Falkirk game. There was actually the whole sack the board, a couple of thousand folk.
Yep.
The protest outside beforehand. What was it like at the actual game? You don't just.
It was to start with. It was so Martin comes out through the tunnel just as the before the game's about to kick off, and obviously there's a media scrum and taking photos of that and a wee wave and a wee shout of the Martin O'Neill song, which we haven't heard since 2005, right, for 20 years. But then it was kind of subdued, because remember we've been in a bad run. You know, Martin's just out of nowhere. 73-year-old guy, no managed for 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. So
it was quite subdued. And to be honest with you, I was just hoping for any kind of win. Just you know, a 1-0 victory, anything just to get the 3 points. As the game progressed, there was probably two things there during the game as it progressed. Like anything else, when you get the first goal, a bit of confidence, and it built, you could see then the fans were getting more into it again, right? Scoring a goal, scoring 2 goals was great. Although Falkirk the first half had one great chance in particular, but the atmosphere picked up, as you expect. We're starting to win 2-0, blah, blah, blah. But the big thing for me, the big thing that was noticeable after about 20, 25 minutes, so you know I sit the top deck, but the bottom bit of the top deck, so we've got quite a good view of the pitch, was just looking at the setup of the team. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a big tweak, but it was just one noticeable tweak that was made, was we had went for a traditional 4-3-3 to more a 4-2-3-1. And what that meant really was you down the angles closer to Callum McGregor in midfield, almost two of them kind of playing 6-8. But it meant that Nygren, who had kind of fluctuated about 3 different positions, he was playing more as a number 10. So he was more central, playing off the striker, maybe 5-10 metres behind. And that was a big difference. And the second thing, and it was more noticeable against Rangers, but they did it against Falkirk, was we were getting the ball over the top of defenders' heads quicker. So by that, what I mean is any chance where defenders got it, or midfielders got it, to put it down the flanks for Tuneke or Kenny to get into, we're trying to do that pass nice and sharp. And that was probably really noticeable against Rangers on Sunday. So for me, that was the 2 major tweaks, changes to the team that stood out straight away. In terms of atmosphere, it was obviously good to win.
Yeah.
Good to
Was there a buzz about the place?
No, there wasn't a buzz, because it didn't look, it's a midweek game against Falkirk after a bad run of fucking games and chaos to the boardroom, the manager. So it wasn't, I'd say there was a good maybe 10,000 missing, but subdued. But second half it picked up, and then obviously getting the 4 goals just as Roma scored, make it 2-0.
Oh, nice. So a quick word. I don't know if Monty's shown his mute. I've got a few questions for him on that game, but this is a quick word to you, Hector, on your friend Benji Neegman's Mr. 5 chances.
Fucking hell, man. I mean, even tonight, we'll come to tonight's game again, right? In the first half, you just know this cunt's going to fucking sky it over the bar, right?
Say what you feel.
For fucking 3 feet out, right? Rather than just let the ball bundle off his arse and trundle all the line, he'll try to do something dramatic, only to fucking sky it out for Denmark to fucking Sweden next door. You know what I mean? He's just, he annoys the fucking life out of me, Desi. But here's the thing with him, and I've got to give him a bit of credit. He never hides.
Yep.
So see when people keep missing chance after chance after chance, and the fans do, they go, yeah, fucking this and that. We've seen so many players crumble and hide. But he's always there. So I admire that in him. And I'm just thinking, see if he gets 1 or 2 chances, he might go on a run of fucking, scoring. I'm wishful thinking here. It's called any clutching every little straw I've got here. He might get 10 chances the next 6 weeks and score fucking 8 of the 10 sitters that he gets.
Yeah, exactly. We might need a new stat note. We've got XG note. We might need an XN for expected Neegman, as in it'll be 4 out of 5. You know what I mean? Because again, it's always Neegman's missed, and then you suddenly, you're watching the highlights, wherever you suddenly go, it was him that did the assist, and then it was him that scored. No actual match-changing moments. He's involved in them. I know he might miss like a few sitters on it. But
He
he's
missed
the guy
4
that's
sitters
involved.
against Sturmgras that, honestly, people like us, I'd have thought I'd have buried at least 2. Right?
Well,
They were
let's
easy.
go to Monty, who has scored at Celtic Park. Is that correct, Monty? Have you scored at Celtic Park?
Goal every 2 games, Desi. Goal every 2 games.
What an average. Right, talking about goal scorers at Celtic Park, Monty, coming to you. There's a player in there, Johnny Kenny, scoring 2. Come off the hour, come off the man.
I did say if he scored, he need a run of games, but if he scored against Falkirk, he'd take that into the weekend, and prophetic as it was. Like, he's decent, and again, you hear the pros who are commentating talking about his movement, and they all like him, and there's something there. But I was reading an article about him at the weekend. I know Hector's giving him the thumbs down. I was reading an article about him at the weekend, and from the Ireland camp, which to be fair at the minute is no real metric of quality, they're saying that he's the most talented striker, natural ability that's come out of Ireland since, wait for it, Robbie Keane. Seriously. They're putting him up above Evan Ferguson and Adam Ida.
Let's just say his first touch isn't the best, Monty. Right?
People say this isn't a comedy podcast, and he's coming out with paddle like that.
Honestly.
I'm just saying what they wrote about him, but
what do you
it's great
think,
to see it. He's only 20.
Think?
He's only 20. It's great to see him actually getting a run, and he's clearly going to be carrying a heavier burden now with what happened this evening, which we'll come on to.
I will come on to. But again, right, Monty, I was going to say something else to you there about Johnny Kenny. I'll come back to me.
Johnny Kenny would do better with somebody playing alongside him. You need to remember that we played this. We've had this kind of one striker role for a few years, and it's maybe time to get back to having 2 of them. And if O'Neill stays to the end of the season, maybe we'll get to it.
Can you hear? Just as a segue, Desi. Just as a segue, can you think of a top tier team at the minute that plays with 2 strikers? Genuine, open question. PSG? No. Barcelona? No.
Rangers,
Liverpool?
They play with 2, don't they?
That's it. I think Liverpool possibly. Yeah.
Maybe not, but no, Monty, I've just remembered, and apologies to whoever said it, but I meant to take a note and I did not. But somebody did say, I will be very disappointed if Monty on the podcast does not say, Maloney, there's a manager in there somewhere.
I'm thinking more Gavin Strachan, actually. There's a coach in there.
Right, so that was Falkirk. We're coming to Ralph. Ralph, coming to you. That was Falkirk, 4-0. Nice to see Celtic getting quite a lot of goals. Nice display. And then we're looking forward, maybe a bit of trepidation. This is my question. Ralph, there's been a lot of suggestions this week post the game, but if you can think back before it and during the game itself, do you think Brendan Rodgers' team was winning that game against Rangers?
No. Not at all.
So what was your thoughts then before the game and through the game, Ralph? We're up to Sunday's League Cup semi-final now.
I thought we'd run over the top of them, and up until which I always do, to be fair, before the game against them. And after we get the goal chalked off for, let's just call it a bizarre kind of offside.
I felt it.
Yeah. When you look at some of the pictures, we picked out the one that made it look doubtful. But the thing is, the referee awarded the goal, and you would have needed clear evidence to overturn that decision. We never get that. It was a quick decision.
Do you remember? Sorry, Ralph. Quickly interruption. You just remind me of something. Do you remember years ago at the start of our Ralph, I think it was a Motherwell game maybe with Jota, and the angle was for like 35 yards away. Remember, I think Jota scored a wonder goal, remember? And that reminded me of that. It was clearly of no relevance, that angle that they used at Hampden last week. Madness. Sorry, Ralph.
And like I said, there's another 3 pictures, and they've picked out the one that gives it doubt. But the thing is, it's not doubt. When you're overturning a referee's decision on the field, it has to be clear cut. Remember the cutback against Hibs? where we had the audio, and it was, well, what about that? What about this? And
The ball
that
didn't go over the
was,
line.
What do you think? What do you
Yeah.
think? Remember that part?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that was the one. So it'll be interesting to see the audio from that. And then obviously we scored, and it's 1-0, and it's all looking good. And all of a sudden the game took a funny wee twist with a penalty where somebody get tripped, fell on the ball, actually put his arms in, but that was still a penalty. And again, the VAR check took
his arms in,
20
it wouldn't have been a
seconds.
penalty. Sorry, well, if he hadn't have put his arms in, i.e., if he'd have fell and tried to protect himself from hitting the floor, then that would have been perfectly fine. But putting his arms inside his body to remove them actually caused it. I mean, like that madness, you kind of go, you can't equate that. That does not work. You can't make that argument.
And there was kind of a period where they kind of come back into it when they went down to just the 11 men. And I thought, do you know what? They're going to sneak this, they're going to do something. But they didn't. And the most significant bit of the game for me was at the start of extra time when it was Sean Maloney that was telling the players what to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, instead of O'Neill saying, come on, lads, get it all together, give us another half an hour, whatever. Maloney said something to them, and halfway through that, and there should have been another penalty at the end of the first period of extra time, but to us this time, and the game was done by then.
Okay.
But it was kind of hard work. Where it
yeah,
shouldn't have been.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It was hard work, and I'm going to. It's a perfect point. Hard work. I'm going to come to you, Hector.
Yes.
Do you feel, because again the tactics on Sunday, that harrying in packs, that energy, we seem to have energy, and we seem to have freedom to chase into space, if you know what I mean. We weren't this is your zone, you stay here. It was all charge, pressure, wasn't it?
Well, the first bit it was, right? The first maybe 20 minutes. I thought in the low averages, I didn't feel good about Sunday. I actually thought they were going to beat us. And I just, you know how we beat them in penalties after the 3H game last year. The Scottish Cup final was 1-0. We scraped by in a dreadful Scottish Cup. Brendas scored the winner 9. I just had this fucking feeling they were going to do it. So I was getting a slightly negative mindset with them maybe winning. But the start we made was great. The first 20 minutes or so were really, really good. And Ralph said we were denied a goal. That's a goal, and that's it. And we could have been 2. But what was really strange about the game was, for all that we in the first half were good, they missed 3 brilliant chances.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually, that big dumpling up front for them, he should have buried two sitters. A good save for Casper, but the other 2 that big dumpling missed. And then the second half against 10 men, I thought we were dreadful. I thought, and Ralph spoke about Maloney. I think he was maybe reinforcing what they may have said at half time was, we've got the extra man, we're 1-0 up, Hampden's a big pitch, keep the ball. Just keep moving the ball, stretch the pitch, use the advantage, 3v2s, 4v2s, midfield diamonds, just keep moving, get them moving. And if you keep doing that for 45 minutes, the second half against 10 men, you'll get lots of clear chances. But we didn't. We kind of played the same tactics in the first half. We were going direct very quickly. So I was really disappointed in the second half against them. But in extra time, we did it perfect. We just said, right, 10 men, extra time, keep it. And what a difference to set in extra time. We could have scored 3 or 4 goals, just be clever football. So, number 1, we won. First half was good, but we gave away some real fucking big chances. But we did the business, and that was the important thing, right?
Monty, the guy, like the energy seems to be back in the team. Players seem to be reborn, Monty. And again, sometimes it just needs that wee bit of freshness, that wee kind of arm in the shoulder, whatever. You're a big culture kind of focused guy, and in the working environment kind of idea. It was quite impressive to see the job that a Martin O'Neill can do to lift people's spirits so that they can find that extra 5 miles per hour on a sprint or run an extra 10 yards, Monty.
O'Neill's a big part of it, Desi. I think Fotheringham and McManus. Fozzie and McManus coming into the equation all of a sudden, because remember, the entire coaching staff bar Strachan all went. So it's a brand new environment. And O'Neill talked about Fotheringham's sort of his infectious sort of personality. He kind of made the joke too, you know, if he'd have been a tenth as good as he thought he was, he'd have been as good as Messi type thing. So clearly a character. You seen the interviews and all when he was briefly a manager as
He's
well.
6 languages in the one conversation.
Aye. But you also seen him. He was hanging around the tunnel, giving everybody a big hug, you know, at the end of the game. So there's clearly an injection of energy there, new ideas. You know, we all said it, how stale it looked like we'd become. And that's, again, not to defend Rodgers, he's left the building, but he said that a Celtic team needs turned over every 2 years. You have to change the environment every 2 years, and we clearly didn't. So we've done it now. I think you're seeing that. It will be interesting when whoever comes in December. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the backroom team because Maloney, I just don't think Maloney, he's not a number one. He's clearly a very good coach, but there's no charisma there. He's a nice guy, and I'm sure he's a fucking great guy in a football. He's just not. He's not manager material. Do you know what I mean? And I don't
Right,
maybe too harsh on him. He just comes across really
let
dour.
me make a note to myself for that because I think that's a very interesting point, and hopefully I'll explain why. Right, so carry on. Right, but what I was going to say to you, Monty, was the Old Firm, right? Because we were having a wee laugh on Sunday about how long it would be for the first Old Firm. I think it was like 32 seconds into the coverage we get the Old Firm part. But is the Old Firm officially back and being so united and hating the referee on Sunday? Is that a new Old Firm basis?
The chant of who's the Fenian in the black that went round the place actually had me in ruptures. Because anybody objectively looking at would have seen not only how poor Walsh was, but also how biased he was. Some of the decisions that went against us, as people pointed out, don't let the narrative be this thing that they we got off with one with Trusty on
Yeah,
Buckland.
it wasn't one of the kind of obvious ones. There was the breaks in play when we had advantage. It was a pulling it back, just like Beaton used to do. It was kind of frustrating to watch, but not unexpected.
Perfect shout, because Hector and I, as people may know, Hector and I share the eTims Net Twitter account. And Hector, you must have had carpal tunnel by texting the amount of times that Walsh pulled the game back. Celtic foul on Celtic player, Celtic break free, call back for foul. You know what I mean? And I laughed out loud reading it because I'm about to take it and just like you beat me to it. And it happened a dozen times.
It was just blatant, and it's piss poor refereeing because, especially in attacking positions, you let the game go on, and then if we score and it turns out there was a foul, VAR wouldn't hesitate, especially the two fuckers were on VAR on Sunday, wouldn't hesitate to pull it back. But he did it continuously throughout the game against us. I can't recollect one moment where they had it pulled back. Obviously, I've got my bias, but I still can't remember it. Can't remember one time.
And like so many of those, Desi, in the round. Like I know we talked about where we thought the games would go Sunday week back, and I'd say like they're terrible. You can see them getting better very quickly under your man rule, but within the whole sort of Hampden experience with O'Neill there, it was such a lovely throwback, and the energy felt like an O'Neill team. But there's clearly still. There's huge deficiencies for the next guy.
Oh, we're going to come to that. We're coming to that soon.
Right, we're coming to that. Right.
Can't just keep me on time, Hector. Just given how late you were joining.
Thanks, mate.
Right, so I did have Ralph and Studs up wee Trusty. The whole kind of again, and I'm loving this, Ralph. If we can touch this for just a minute, I'm loving right. So Celtic won the game comfortably, and I think Maloney. My sister, my daughter were just right next down the front, right next to where Maloney was, and the TV cameras kind of always showed Martin O'Neill in his nice new tracksuit, jumping up and down and being energetic, etc. But you never ever saw Maloney in the TV cameras apart from that huddle at the start of the extra time. But apparently he was constantly telling the players, especially to Nick, calling him out and giving him like clear instructions. It wasn't just a get involved. It was like clear instructions on what to do. And finally, the fact that Ralph Celtic won the game ultimately convincingly, right? And New Rangers are clutching at all these wee blue straws that they possibly can. I think that's just perfect because it gives them it's the hope that kills, Ralph, isn't it? It's the hope that kills. They still see them as being We are the people. We are the same as them. We are as good as them. It's just we were cheated.
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, maybe when this American money comes in, we'll have something to worry about. But you watch them, and obviously, we're recording the podcast while their game's on just now. It looks now like they're going to lose another game, which he's been in charge for 5 matches. They've won 2, I think, Dundee and Livingston, and every other game they've lost.
The one at Hibs, the script one at Hibs last
That
week.
was the
Hibs
first
and
clean sheet in a year. The first away clean sheet in a year. That was interesting.
Right. Which in itself is an astonishing statistic. We're coming up to the January window. It's only, 2 months away?
Yeah, 8 weeks.
And if they're still paying for whatever they owe Russell Martin, if they're even still paying the manager off before that, this guy's not going to have any money to spend. And they don't have any outstanding players that they can sell, which means they need to have something to cheer about for the rest of the season. And it's, I think the League Cup would have given that to them had they get through. And I'm wondering again, and I know it's a paranoia or awareness, whichever word you want to use to describe it, but it's getting back to the years just before they went under, when it was kind of desperate that they survived. And it's all financial, and I think there's an awful lot that's maybe thrown at them, which is why they're deflecting.
There's a heavy, exactly. I think there's a heavy denial feeling, but we'll leave that to him, right? We'll leave that to him. We'll come to me. I want to come back to the positives, Hector. I would like to take this point publicly to put my hand up and say a public apology and well done to Casper Schmeichel, who I think's been unbelievable in the last week or so. Especially his previous relationship with Brendan Rodgers. I
can't hear you, Desi.
Sorry. I don't. Should be fine. Can you hear me, Ralph?
Yeah.
Hector?
I can't hear anybody.
We've lost Hector.
You guys okay?
I can hear Hector.
I can hear Hector fine, yes. Monty. Hold on, let's try Monty again. Monty. We've lost Hector. Monty, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We've lost Hector there. This is where we're coming to an important part of the conversation. So we'll come to you, Monty, as the goal scorer. As a goal scorer at Celtic Park. I was wanting to discuss this with Hector. But Callum Osmond, Monty. We're talking with Johnny Kenny, so you got to talk with Johnny Kenny, but then Callum Osmond, probably not even mentioned anywhere within Celtic under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers goes. Sean Maloney apparently goes for dinner with Martin O'Neill on the Tuesday to discuss the squad. And then, have we get Hector back?
I lost all audio with you guys, so I went out and I'll come back in again.
Okay, right. So we'll come to the resident tactician first of all, Monty. I'll come back to you because I've got some other points for you. Right, Hector, for you, Callum Osmond, nowhere on the scene at all with Celtic, running up and down the pitch himself apparently. Sean Maloney goes for dinner with Martin O'Neill on the Tuesday night and tells him, "I've got this young boy. You'll love this young boy." And then it's been, if we'd have recorded this 2 hours ago, we'd be saying, what a week it's been for that young boy.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's took a wee turn tonight. But Hector, taking your chance, is that the epitome of taking your chance?
He was, as you say, it's such a shame because he got a wee 15 minutes against Falkirk, 10-15 minutes, the midweek game. And, he was just on the pitch, but you could see in that short time he was kind of fleet of foot, kind of very quick off the first 5-10 metres. And again on Sunday, he had that sort of impact. He missed a great chance. James, he did really well to put him through, and he had a great chance to win it in normal time. But he was excellent. And I think we all loved these celebrations at the end because you think of the boy coming up here. The word was for Fulham's academy or Fulham's under 21s. He was really well regarded playing against the equivalents in Man Cities and all that. Like we got Dembele from almost a similar situation. Oh, he's a little bit more advanced than him. But the boy to come up here and nobody anywhere near the squad, and we've been struggling to score goals. So for me, that things like that is a black mark against Rodgers.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, well, come on, you've signed the guy, right? Because he was asked about him at the time, he rated him highly, Films Academy and all that. And we're not scoring goals, we've had an injury crisis, we didn't get the forwards in. He'd have thought, right, I've got to mix up a wee bit. This boy here's batting his fucking, his arse off in training, working with us hard, great attitude, fleet of foot, scores goals. What, he should be in the squad, surely, the match day squad once or twice, and he was never seen. So great to come in, but such a shame. Obviously, we'll cover in tonight's game.
Yeah, so that was it. So Callum Osmond, I love the fact that Osmond also had a wee bit of resiliency about him. Like Tavernier brought him down quite a few times, but he wasn't even just like hitting the deck, and he was getting up to like chase after the ball, and then the ref again. There was a cracking bit where he beat Tavernier. Tavernier fouls him. Osmond gets up, collects the ball, and the referee calls it back for the foul. Not why you're kind of like that. He's already beat the man, lost the man, ran away from the man, and of course he calls it back. Classic. But so Osmond scores his goal, and it was a perfect striker's goal, Monty. That Kyogo style goal.
Yeah.
Sliding in the ball. The Kieran Tierney has taken a lot of slagging for a lot of people. And again on this podcast, people have been realistic about his re-emergence at Celtic. But that Kieran Tierney ball across the box, Monty.
Yeah.
But that's what we're looking for, isn't it? That clinical 6
Yeah.
ball.
And if you think about, again, Osmond's 19, Johnny Kenny's 20. If you think about how over time, and they'll have their peaks and troughs as young players, but Tierney's quality into the box, when you set that against, no disrespect, but look at Anthony Ralston on the other side, and even Colby Donovan, none of the rest of the fullbacks. Johnson has it, but we don't really use it. But yeah, I think all of a sudden you had wee glimpses of what could be, that type of penalty box striker, which we've clearly missed since Kyogo. We haven't even looked to replace, or looked like we wanted someone that would play that type of game. And again, you have to wonder whether that's why he wasn't getting a look in with Rodgers. Rodgers always preferred the more athletic, sort of the bigger centre forward, if you think about the likes of Eddie and Dembele. So, yeah, great for him, Desi, cracking goal. Fed brilliantly by Tierney, who hopefully can build that fitness in and get that little bit of sharpness back too. But look, you could wax about it for a wee while, but ultimately, are we really setting our fucking bar with a 19 and a 20-year-old? Is that our bar? Not to be negative. Is that really what we're going to sing wax lyrical about? Or do we have higher ambitions?
There should be a main striker, and those two should be coming on to give them a wee rest towards the end of the game and gradually getting into the team. Unless we're going to play two up front, which doesn't seem likely. I prefer that.
I don't remember anybody complaining that Charlie Nicholas wasn't good enough when he was that young. You know what I mean? Surely, if you've got a jersey and you're scoring goals, then it's yours to lose. Somebody else has got to step up. So again, do you go and throw money and hope for the best?
But he had Frank McGarvey next to him, so that's a different thing.
But here, it's about levels too, lads. Arsenal played a 15-year-old in the Champions League on Tuesday night. Youngest ever player, I think, to step in, or youngest English player, whatever the stat was. They're regularly bringing in players at 16, 17 and 18 at that level who are clearly good enough to go in. You look at Dane Murray at 22 against Hearts, and he's clearly not. He's not even at our domestic level now, whether that's the pressure of Celtic or whether he just won't make it, even though we give him a 3-year contract. So we're either, and this is going to be interesting. I don't want to take us away from the topic because we're going to come on to it, but the next guy and the dynasty that the next guy builds is going to be really important, which, as I see there from the Nicky Hayne CSC down in the bottom left, if it's Nicky Hayne, fucking hell. Yeah.
Right. Okay, we'll come on that in a second, but let's just touch on the night. So this is Thursday evening. It is 9 p.m. now. So we got together literally half an hour after the Matalan versus Mitaland, I think somebody called it on Twitter, Hector. And I think that was actually disparaging against Matalan, because we weren't even at Matalan levels, were we? in respect to tonight's
we
performance.
got a terminal Glasgow, got what arses felt.
We had a shot in 28 seconds.
Well, I seen you fucking doing cartwheels. I seen your post, and that was you. You fucking jinxed it. The next shot we had was 76 minutes later.
It's like Glasgow taxis in the rain, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, man. But do you know what? 3-0 flattered us at half-time. And then to rub our faces really into the fucking dirt, the other best players after 60 minutes, Francolino and the other wee winger, and the big boy in midfield who was in Napoli's squad last year, who scored the first, they subbed all them. And so my watched my youngest boy going, yeah, we're coming 70 odd minutes ago, we're coming more into it, really. But they took all the best fucking players off. That's why at 3-0.
They're all in the stand smoking cigars.
They were laughing, but we were dreadful. For all they were good, we were dreadful. And dare I say it, and I'm going to say it, right? There's no two ways about it. The Falkirk game, the Rangers game, bringing in, replacing Brendan with Martin and wee Sean Maloney had a massive impact. But dare I say it, tonight needed them just to tighten things up a wee bit, and they didn't, against a team that's levels above Falkirk and Rangers. And I think a Rodgers team would have played a far better game tonight away in Europe, right? Whereas conversely, home against Falkirk and against Rangers, we might have struggled to fucking win any of those games based upon. So it's that's the strange one. So for me, there's a middle ground, right? The middle ground is you want a manager who can play aggressive attacking football, but guess what they can also do? They can tweak it a bit to a different style against a different opponent. Yeah. And that's all I'm asking for. It's not fucking much, is it?
But is that necessarily the manager, or is it the players? Is it a job of the captain and the senior players to say, hold on a minute, we know how to hold the ball, we know how to keep possession, we know how to kill a game. But
I don't think Martin Hill and Sean Maloney's going to. I don't think they're really. What would Martin Hill say if somebody says, well, Martin, a young guy at 24 or something, he would go, you can imagine what he'd say, right?
I'm not.
No, but surely he's got respect for the likes of McGregor and Forrest.
But bear in mind, Ralph, they've been a wee bit of a high after the lows. We just spoke about the last hour.
Yeah.
They've won 2 games. They've been a high, pumping Rangers at the weekend. Here we go. Let's get the victory. And they've went there with a positive attitude. The team, the manager, the coaches, to go and win. But
before the game, O'Neill says, I watched Midtjylland on TV duty a couple of weeks back, and he said they were very, very strong.
Aye.
So why would you approach a game against them the same way that you'd approach Falkirk?
He can't get all the praise and not get criticism. That's what I'm saying to you. It doesn't matter who the manager is. It's if you see they're good, you go, that was great. If it wasn't so good, you go, it wasn't so great.
So what changes were you made there? Were you playing Bernardo instead of Nickman? I'm just trying to think.
Well, for
the
me,
physicality, even me, I always said the physicality was. You seen the big midfielder. We're talking about players holding the ball. There was at one point Callum McGregor was trying to shield the ball, and their big central midfielder, this basically went, just give me it. Just fucking give me it. And
the way you man.
No, I mean, exactly. It was the sheer.
We were so open. We were too. See, for me, we were just far too open. We were meters off. An example of that, whenever we tried to, mainly in the first half, go to Kenny, bypass the midfield, which is fine. It was good to see us do that. The times it didn't bounce off him, right? But a lot of times it did bounce off him because their centre backs were touch tight on him. Compare and contrast to our 2 centre backs. So many times we're 3, 4, 5 metres off their striker, and it's just.
But that has to be coached, Hector. That has to be coached. That has to be the way that we set up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go back and watch it. And so all I'm getting is I just think, and here's the thing, I'm not going to criticise Martin Hill. Martin Hill's coming as a temporary manager to help us out for a wee period. What I'm taking as consolation from tonight is if Martin and the team had won, we'd all been happy. But Dermot Desmond could be like that, oh, you're a beauty. Right?
Yeah.
What it's done, it's actually, we might look back next couple of days as a good thing because it puts the pressure right back on them for how dreadful the squad we've got for European football.
Yeah.
And the manager's got to come in because the fucking transfer window's open in 7-8 weeks' time. So we've
Yeah.
got to get this right and make it a priority. Don't fuck
And-
about with it.
And that point, Hector, is probably the most important point that we will make between now and the opening of the transfer window. If we did a fucking podcast every day,
Right,
there's
but
a
you're-
new guy. There's a new guy coming in. There is money there. There's a squad that needs to be shaped for European football. They are the three and the only three things that should be on the fucking agenda from day one when that transfer window opens. So that 77 million and that other bullshit statement that they made that we can't spend it because of European financial fair play, all that lies that were ripped apart as well. Maybe the good thing is Rodgers going gives us the chance to do this so that the season just doesn't burn out.
Yeah.
And maybe tonight's result, as you say, it puts the onus back on them.
Performance as well as the result. It's the performance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, but
Right, so-
you've probably got a lot of boys there that are now kind of auditioning, you know, which is your normal dead cat bounce or your bounce when a manager goes. So. But we'll see. We're going to know soon enough.
Right, I'm just checking the fixtures here. We've got Feyenoord away on the 27th of November, and then we've got Roma at home on the 11th of December, 4 days after we play Hearts at home.
Mhm.
And then we have Rangers on the 3rd of January, Bologna on the 22nd of January away, 3 days before we play Hearts away, and that is 4 days before we play Utrecht at home. So I don't really know if they're going to have a chance to bring people in before then to make any difference.
Is the Chinese league finished now?
Well, I'm not sure you can get it, but right. So that brings us right. So it was a disaster tonight. I think we all watched Celtic running in slow motion against a young, strong, tall, Danish side, right? Quite impressive, and they've had a very good model. So this brings us, Monty, to your question there about Maloney being a number 2, and I've just wrote a question here. Maloney, modern manager. Who's the manager of Midtjylland, Monty?
Do you know? I actually don't know. And I should have looked it up
Have you
before.
ever heard them
Mike
speaking?
Tilburg?
So my question is the focus of a modern manager to be more tactical and personality, and the system takes care of everything more than the individual?
No, I don't think. I get what I take your point. I get the point that you're making around, you know, the manager maybe just being part of the fabric. But in order for him to be part of the fabric has to exist, and it doesn't exist at Celtic. So identity, like that Michelin 2025 strategy from their previous CEO, who executed the strategy, reviewed the strategy at the end. For, you know, they didn't make top 50 in Europe, but they're not far off. They got their attendances up. They got their record revenues. They spent a record amount for a Danish team last year. Their record signings, €5 million. You know what I mean? You're all the parameters set, and now he moves up into a chair role, and they're now thinking about a 10 or a 25-year strategy. In that fabric, a bit like the Bruges fabric, where Nicky Haynes just got a wee bit more aura, a bit more personality about him. In that, you know, Knudsen up in Bodo. These are projects, Desi. These are 5 to 10 year projects where the manager is part of the fabric. And unless we get new fabric in terms of Celtic Football Club's identity, the board's position and the board's function, like I've said this, I don't know how many times in the last couple of weeks, 870 grand to be a messenger boy for a billionaire. Do you really think Michael Nicholson's going to retire?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's going to step down? Do you think he's going to resign? Is he fuck? Yet in the previous 3 jobs that I've had, I had more purchasing leeway than that guy, and I don't get paid a fucking fraction of what he gets paid. So fabric changes, Desi. Identity of football, style, a business model to suit, and a board that reflects where we need to go. That's ultimately then, I couldn't give a fuck if it's Sean Maloney, I couldn't give a fuck if it's Stephen McManus, because they'll be following a template.
Okay, right, so I'll put that question in to Ralph. Ralph, do you think Celtic fans would accept adopting a system which may not guarantee winning the league but should have longer term benefits to the club?
There shouldn't be any reason why we're not at least competing for the league every year. And given the head start we've got, there should be enough in the tank to to guarantee to an extent the next 3 or 4 years, which means that we can build, we can change things, and we can aim a wee bit higher. But it comes back to the old accusation of the board that they're just quite happy to stay a step ahead of Rangers, or Hearts, that it might be this season.
Yep. Okay. I'm wary of time here. Hector, the most animated I've seen you for a while on the WhatsApp group was this towards the end of last week when I mentioned that someone had reported that Jim Goodwin had failed to report for Dundee United training and may have been seen about Lennoxtown. Would a Scottish-based coach be of interest to you at all? Nicky Haynes, CSC, as you're called.
You can have my season back. You can have my season ticket back now, Mr. Nicholson. Right. So just on this. This is what an opportunity we've got. What an opportunity now that Rodgers is away. We're rebuilding because we had to rebuild anyway. We've got a transfer window coming up in about 7-8 weeks' time. We'll get £77 million cash to bank, right? Season tickets.
Plus whatever we get from one or two that leave.
Aye, sold out season tickets. So if ever there was an opportunity for us to plan and do things right and show ambition and not just say be world class in everything we do, but actually try and get the very best, this is it. This is it, right? So obviously I've put in as the Nicky High and CSC. And I'm just basing that upon, number one, last season we played them in the Champions League at Celtic Park. It was one of the best games of the season for me. We didn't win it. The first half, or maybe the first 50 odd minutes, they were brilliant, weren't it? Physically, the pace, the power, the sort of play, they bullied us as well. To be fair to us, we came back the last half hour or so, and I think a draw was probably fair. But you keep an eye on them. They pumped the Zombies, which, makes you so what? But it was a pumping, what was it? It was a fucking 9-0 or 9-1 in aggregate. But then even last night, they played Barcelona last night. Did you guys watch their game last night with Barcelona?
I've seen the last half. I saw you watching it, if you know what I mean.
Honestly,
absolutely.
Yep. And it was one of the best games you'll see because, Barcelona for all their panache and flair and world class players, Bruges didn't give a fuck. Yep. They had tactics where, do you know what? Every chance we get, we're having a go at them, and they get forward in numbers, and then their pace and power, and athleticism, they're back defending as a group, as a unit. They were good physically, they're good at set pieces, and there's bags of pace. And I thought, a manager like that, with a team that plays like that, which you won't build straight away, it might take 2 or 3 transfer windows to try and build. But here's the conundrum. The conundrum's Dermot Desmond, right? Without a proper football structure in place that includes all your data scientists, your best scouting system, the data analysis that backs up both, head of recruitment, football director of football, and the manager working together with delegation to spend, right?
Yep.
Like he's got at Brugge with his equivalents there, it's not going to work. So really, unless the structure changes, what's the fucking point of getting even asking if he'd come? And by the way, I've got no 2 doubts he'd jump at coming to Celtic. No 2 doubts about it. He'd jump at it.
So that was
if that structure, Desi, if that structure was in place.
Exactly. That was my point tonight with Geraldo Davino. He was saying, can we get Regards manager now? But why would even the Midtjylland boss, and I don't mean that disparaging against it, but that was an example. And I was like, but why would you want to go to Celtic when he's getting better players there, he's getting better European progression there, the standard of living, etc., etc. It's in a better place. Celtic's not really a good place, and I know historically, and we look through green tinted glasses, and it's a big world football name. Fine, Ralph, right? That's fine. But realistically, if you are a modern coach looking to make your way in the world, etc., and you've actually done something, you've actually achieved something, are you going to be thinking, I'd love to go to Celtic? You know what I mean? Is it not a case of we get people who are on the way down that we can maybe help come back up? Like your Angies and your Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think we need to offer an opportunity to somebody that's not really had an opportunity to play at the highest levels in Europe and to win trophies, make a name for yourself, just to draw attention to what you can do. At this stage, that's maybe what we need to be looking for. But we need to kind of get a caveat in place where we say to them, look, if you're here, you're coming here for 5 years. If you do kind of go away somewhere else, then we're needing compensation from you. But again, it's about structure. Like Hector says, it's about putting something in place that is a proper business model.
Right. Desi, here's the thing. Sorry, just on the structure. Here's the thing. I'm conscious of time, right? Here's the thing. There's words. There's doing the rounds a wee bit that the AGM's in 2 weeks' time, and there's going to be a lot of change, not just within the board or non-exec, but a lot of change. And what I mean by that is the announcement of a new football structure with a director of football being announced. And there's two names that have been mentioned. One's Sean Maloney, become director of football, right? Whether he's got the experience and all that, that's a different conversation. Another one for left field I'm going to throw in there is John Collins, right? That's the two. But irrespective of names, the word is there's going to put in place a director of football structure. See if that is put in place and it comes out, the empowerment, the board's not going to share every single wee thing of detail, I get that, right? Then that's a structural change starting to take shape. But if it doesn't happen, then what's the point of getting a manager that, as you say, that he's got a great relationship with his current club. His current club will sell players for 60 million euros, but guess what? They'll spend 40 in June to prepare for the season and the qualifiers ahead.
And then take another that 10 and devote it to the academy to bring on another 3 starlets. Right, Monty, to you. Right, so if we were compiling a tick list, and this is, don't worry about the system, right? I think we're all agreed that we would love to see Celtic actually implement a system that would have long term. Remember, John Barnes wanted to implement a system way back in the day. John Barnes had that vision. But Monty, you're looking for a manager with a proven manager winner, preferably accustomed to European footballer, accustomed to European football success, and if he's got a connection to Celtic, even better. Monty, Robbie Keane, surely a leading contender.
Wouldn't have him anywhere fucking near the club.
Here's a question, Monty. If you were to read Robbie Keane's CV and AI altered to make it a comparable CV where the names and dates been changed, surely you'd be impressed from an actual hiring perspective.
I was just about to contradict myself by saying if you can strip the personality and the behaviours, not the behaviours, it sounds like he's up to something. If you can strip out the lack of fucking moral fibre from him, but then which footballer has, and you look purely at his coaching track record and his managerial track record, he's a top candidate for the job. He's in the top 3. He has connections to Desmond. He would take the job. He would leave his existing job to go here. But be under no illusions, he will also leave here for the first English job that he gets offered as well. Robbie Keane is a career football manager. He's not here to build the fabric of Celtic Football Club in a way that, even if you give him the structures, even if you give him the fabric and give him the leeway and give him the latitude of spend, he will leave for the Premier League because that's where he wants to manage. I think someone like Hayne or someone like Knutson or someone like, dare I say it, Kevin Muscat, would be here for a longer term and more likely to stay for 3 to 5. And I think Ralph touched upon it. Whoever we bring in, we got to give him a 5-year contract. We can't keep doing it short term. The obvious candidate after Ange would have been Muscat if we were going to keep that type of football and style and structure. We didn't even consider him seemingly. So we need a plan, Desi. We don't have a fucking plan.
I think the scamp in me, for want of a ruder word, in me would love to see Robbie Keane being presented as Celtic manager, purely to hear him tell us how he always loved picking up the Sabutio manager with Celtic's team and saying that could be me one day in the overcoat and the wee hat. Could you imagine And the thing is, you know, as you say, Monty, he is a contender, and especially in Dermot's eyes. And
Yeah.
Dermot, I don't give a fuck what you tell me, Peter. I think
Yeah.
the guy should get it. If I want him to get it, he's getting it.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Other contenders, Wilfried Nancy from the Columbus Crew. Are you familiar with his work at all?
Yeah, fantastic. Then we'd get called the Nancy Boys. I can't really see that.
Very good,
They
man.
would be fine with that.
Right, no, I would go back to what you said about John Collins getting the director of football thing. I went up to see him when he was involved in some coaching thing at Motherwell, with still in university, I think. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say that yet. It was about 5 years ago. But he had got involved with some Dutch coach and some Dutch coaching system. And he had tried to bring it into the Scotland setup, and they wouldn't let him do it. He is somebody that knows a lot about bringing people through as a coach. Never mind the old press-ups, accusations and all that kind of thing. He does know his football, and it's kind of a sin that he's not involved at any level. And if he's available, I would bring him in.
You can just see him walking into the boardroom with a top off. Mind, it was like, it was always showing the six-pack off to the boys about how fit he is. You know what I mean? So that could be interesting. Right, quick question, very, very time. Hector, to you, I'm just looking here. Poor Osmond get a bad hamstring tear by looks at tonight, so he joins Ian Acho, Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, and Jota now on the clinic, so to speak, unwell. So is this a time for Shin to shine, Hector?
Is he injured?
I don't know.
No.
I think he just wasn't in
No.
the route. He's
Well,
not in the squad.
he came on against Hearts the last half hour, then suddenly I thought he must have got injured.
I'm unaware. Again, he's one of the guys that falls off the radar. Will he maybe get dragged back in? Who knows? But it'll be interesting.
So, I mean, if he is fit, there's no. I mean, I can't think he. I mean, I don't have any other force. I can't think of one that's
Johnny Kenny, and that's it. Johnny Kenny.
There must be a reserve striker somewhere.
No, we sold him to West Ham, remember? They left for West Ham. Because the youth weren't getting a chance.
Yep.
Or Maeda goes to striker again, right? Because he did well when Kyogo left. But when Kyogo left, let's be honest, in January, Maeda was terrific as a striker for 3 months.
Yeah,
but Maeda's going. Maeda's going in January. Maeda's going in January, along with most likely Hatari. We've got. So there's the money. There's money plus the money in the bank for a new guy to come in and actually really start building the fundamental blocks for next season's Champions League. But you have to do that. Personally, the board have to do that with a guy that they trust. That's the key as to why Rodgers is no longer the manager. The trust breakdown between him and the board. In the absence of that
as well.
What's that? Sorry,
it works the other way as well. The manager.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah. The manager has to trust the board, and that's what I'm saying. The way that it played out, they fucked him. There's no getting away from it. They fucked Rodgers royally in his second spell at Celtic. In the 5 transfer windows that he was here, did they back him in 2? The other 3, they fucked him over. So again, hindsight, but it's gone now.
Go, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I just said that. The new guy in has to be backed in January to a level that we have never spent before in January. That's your metric. New guy in.
It's a bad window for spending January.
Early January as well.
Early January.
That was my point about European games. Yep.
No, but let's not take our eye off the ball here, right? European games, let's be honest, this season, who gives a fuck?
It's gone. Yeah,
you're
hiring now for the league and a Champions League qualifier.
And anybody that writes off Hearts, this isn't the Hearts team with Burley and that fucking mad owner they had that sacked him after 12 games 20 years ago. The guy they've got running the show now is a fucking, he knows his shit and he's got money. And if they're 8, possibly more points ahead of us, which is, by the way, I wouldn't rule it out because we've got these extra games to play in European games that are tough games come January. He won't hesitate to make their squad better. So we can't take money off the ball. I think Europe, who gives a fuck? We've got it ready. Players in the door, first couple of days of January, at least 1 or 2 straight in there.
You can win the league.
But here's
You
the
can win
thing.
the league by spending £2 million. Hire Denny McInnes and buy Lon Shankland. That wins you the league. Because that'll
No,
destroy
Claudio
Hearts and you
Braga.
win the league.
Claudio Braga.
That's it done. That's just the most simplistic solution.
Well, let Rangers
buy
do
fair.
that then, Desi. Let Rangers do
No,
that.
man, I'm
Okay.
just saying, but that's realistically it was going to be. But of course, Celtic will hum and haw, as you're saying, we need to get players in early. That was only under Dom Mackay, whatever. That will not happen again. And then we'll just hum and haw until the end of the window.
There
and
are-
then see how hard it was, because people are concentrating on the World Cup or that part of it. Right.
But here,
so
just on that, Desi, just before you leave the point, there's 4 of Bodo Glimt's starting 11 are out of contract at the end of November, at the end of their season. 4 of his starting 11.
Right, so that's interesting because I was final point before we finished was that apparently Tam Cowan and Gordon Strachan had been having a chat recently at an evening, an audience with Gordon Strachan, and Gordon Strachan said, as far as he was aware, the 2 people Celtic were interested were not available until December.
Yes.
So the final question is, Hector, I'll put it to you first. Do we think Celtic play Kilmarnock this Sunday, 9th of November, and then we play again on the 22nd of November? Do we think we'll have a new managerial team for the St Mirren game the 22nd of November, or will it be Martin O'Neill and Maloney still?
Martin O'Neill and Maloney will still be there.
How long for, do you think?
December.
End of the year, January window?
It's got to
Christmas.
be. It can't be. Listen, it can't be. Well, it can be because it's the Celtic board or Dermot Desmond in particular. I was going to say it can't possibly be January, but fucking how he acts, right? But it should be to give them enough time, several weeks to plan to get players in, to give them a chance. You can't leave it too late. But I don't think our board will act quick enough. Hopefully, surprise me and get the right person in. I've got a sneaky feeling early-ish December. I think another month from now, maybe.
Okay, Monty, to you, same. Who do you think? When do you think Martin will be asked to? Thanks very much. Your taxi's waiting.
I don't think they'll be in charge at the end of November. I think the window coming up in the next 2 weeks, Celtic will do the deal then. If they're in charge, it's purely because either, I mean, I'll just call it. I think it's Knutson from Bodo Glimt. I think he's the most likely fit based on everything that we've heard and everything we know. And if that's the case, I think their season finishes and potentially goes to playoffs. So it could be December, but I think they've fucked it. I think they blew up in their last couple of games, if I wasn't mistaken.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
So
I think Viking, I think it's in Total League.
yeah, I think I'm Viking. It's in their own hands now, so there's no playoff. Something along those lines. So short answer, Desi, I think we have to agree it in November for the guy to be in December at the latest, and as Hector said, early. But if you could get him in, if the league's done and you can get him in for that Kilmarnock game, I think we might get introduced to him at the Kilmarnock game. 27.
Sunday.
Right.
Sunday, 4 o'clock.
Sorry, the game on the 27th of November.
That's the month. We play some Monday.
I think that game, he'll be waving to the crowd and he'll be starting next week.
Okay. Who's the Northern Ireland manager again? Michael O'Neill.
Michael O'Neill, no chance.
Okay, I'm going. There's a potential dream team for you.
Michael and Martin.
Is it Kieran McKenna at Ipswich? And Michael O'Neill, he could be the mentor, and Kieran McKenna could get him to Ipswich. A young manager and be a kind of mentor. I don't know how Robin Islands are getting on. And your Shamrock Rovers guy tonight, one each in Greece.
Yeah.
So there's another contender. Right, Ralph, I've got the last question of the night for you. Which Celtic-related phrase has been voted Word of the Year 2025?
67.
Well done, 6-7. Well done, Ralph. And that was one of the highlights of having Celtic dads / Celtic granddads discussing 6-7 on the WhatsApp channel. So
I've still got no idea what it means.
No, Nate didn't know it. Didn't mean
No
anything.
idea what it's about.
But if you want to watch, South Park's got a great episode on it, so I'd recommend that. Right, so I don't think we answered many questions tonight. It's very much up in the air. All we know is Brendan has moved on. We'll wait and see if there's any more fallout from it after Dermot's statement, and then we'll see where we go. I think tonight's game in Denmark has clarified the Martin O'Neill-Maloney partnership won't be there long term. I think that's probably been the nail in that coffin. If they'd have won that tonight, suddenly it would be a case of, well, it's theirs to lose. But I think this has been a reality check tonight. And as the guys have said, let's concentrate on the league and chasing down Hearts. We've got a game in hand and we're 9 points behind. So it's just left for me to say thank you very much to the panel tonight. Thank you to Hector Bandido. Thank you, Hector. Nicky Hain, CSC. Thank you, Hector.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream, Desi. It's a fucking pipe dream.
Hey, that's it. If you don't mean, some of us are lying in the gutter looking at the stars. The man, Monty C. Burns, what's the C standing for? Are you bastardised it for Knutson, Monty?
You beat me to it. I was going to try and pillory that. So yes, Knutson, that's me.
Nice.
Or Mutt-Cat.
Okay. Thank you very much, Monty. And last but not least, thank you to Ralph. Ralph, any final predictions? Do you think we'll have a new manager team, or do you think it'll be Martin O'Neill still end of November?
No, I think it's too late for O'Neill and too soon for Maloney now. So we'll get somebody else in. Probably Stevie Clark, not in our luck.
I know, that'll be next summer. That could be the answer.
That fucking cheery, on that fucking cheery note.
That guy was right even you being a moaning face cunt.
Let's start that rumor. So apologies for ending on a very steady note, folks. Thank you as always for listening. Please check out Ralph's diary at www.etims.net, the daily diary, and please like and subscribe as always. It's always appreciated. And leave any comments. We love to read them and hear from them. A special shout out to Paul McLaughlin, who I met last week. Thanks for your encouragement, Paul. And again, folks, thanks as always for listening. My name is Desmond. Good night.
Big Tams of the Gallowgate are proud to sponsor the eTims podcast for season 25-26. Do you sit there watching DVDs from Seville in 2003? Are you sitting there wondering what the hell is Dermot drinking? If so, then get yourself down to Big Tams in the Gallowgate, where we have some Martin masks and Henrik Hooch on special birthday offer. Help us help you escape from the confusion for just a little while at least. Big Tams. We have been helping suffering Tims for 138 years.
And my time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I've never caught a glimpse how the others must see the faker. I'm much too fast to take that test. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Size, but never leave the stream of warm and permanent sand. So the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same. And these children that you spit on as they try to change their worlds are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Where's the shame you've left us up to her now?